This is Tom Fox. I'd like to welcome you to a new offering from the Sunday Book Review, which is the Sunday Book Review Authors Edition, where I visit with an author over his or her book about compliance, leadership, and best practices. Numerous folks have asked me to put on a book review podcast, so the Sunday Book Review Authors Edition will fill that slot. Thanks for listening. Today, Jeffrey Hayzlett on the Hero Factor. First, a quick word from our sponsor. Jeffrey, I've been dying to visit with you about your book, The Hero Factor. Yeah. So could I ask you, why did you write this book?
I wrote the book because I started seeing a group of men and women who lead businesses who are running hero cultures. They're running hero businesses. Nobody wakes up every morning as a leader and says, I can't wait to be a hero. Just like real heroes in the world and in the military and heroic acts. They don't intend to be heroes. They're just put in the right place at the right time. And there's lots of leaders in business who are running hero businesses. And these are the kind of businesses that, quite frankly, they're value-based. They're based on values. They have certain sets of values, and everybody in the organization knows what they are. And as a result, they live those values every day. Walk-away values is what I like to call them. And they have things like diversity and inclusion, and they just, they stand for certain things no matter what, that principle of it. And as a result of that, they gross more revenue. They make more money than their competitors in the marketplace. They have happier employees. They have more engaged customers. They have vendors who want to do business with them. And as you know, and knowing other businesses, when they walk through the town, people point at them and go, there goes a great business, And that's what this is all about. So it's about the hero factor, how they stand out above everybody else.
I think most people have heard of the term servant leadership, but you talk about hero leadership.
Yeah.
What's hero leadership?
Well, servant leadership is a part of it, serving others and doing it. But the hero leadership is really setting a set of values that you're going to walk and operate with a certain set of values, whatever those are, And by the way, and it could be adverse to your business as well. I mean, there could be some bad things, but most, by and large, it actually is the opposite of that. Let's take, Kathy Truitt, or Truitt Kathy from Chick-fil-A. He has a value that he believes that you shouldn't have same-sex marriage. Okay, there's a lot of people that don't like that, but he stands for that and says that's just one of his values. And if you don't like it, don't buy my Chick-fil-A sandwich. Now, I happen to like his Chick-fil-A sandwich. Can't stand that particular stand on that issue, but nonetheless, he has every right to do that. But it's about his own Christian values. Those are different than mine. I'm Christian as well. But nonetheless, he stands for certain values. Or let's take it to his business side, not the personal side. On the business side, he says we're not open on Sunday.
Absolutely.
He's not open on Sunday. Why? Because he believes that's a day of rest for him. And there's others like that. Another Texas-based company, Michael's, same way. But let's go to Starbucks. Now, Starbucks is kind of you would think, from Seattle, left wing, kind of a crazy kind of company, And, in my state of South Dakota, in many states, there's a thing called National Gun Day. And on National Gun Day, people actually walk down the streets and do a parade carrying open firearms. And you know what they do? They go into Starbucks and buy coffee as a kind of a way to kind of, tick off Starbucks. But Starbucks allows it. Why? Because their values are we reflect the values of the community. And to me, that's certain kinds of things that kind of come out that to me are at odds somewhat with Howard Schultz. I mean, I think Howard Schultz is probably pretty much an anti-gun kind of guy from everything I can see when he was talking about running for president and everything else. So, but yet their values are this is what we stand for.
Last summer, the Business Roundtable came out with a statement on the purpose of a corporation.
Yep.
And they expanded the statement on the purpose of a corporation from simply shareholder value to a variety of stakeholders. And they added values.
Yep.
Why did I found that incredibly
It means something. Because it means something. I was ecstatic because that's the entire book. The hero factors, how great companies transform and create winning cultures. And it's all always around values. And to me, that was like, oh, what a validation for what we do at the Hero Club. What's a validation what most leaders in the C-suite network do. And that is lead with great purpose and great value.
So what is...
By the way, it pays. It pays. I just, again, let me be clear. You can go to the herofactorbook.com. You can get a free assessment. Take an assessment and see where your company is. But there's a great chart on page 12 of the book and in that kit where it says it will plot your business out. What kind of business are you? Are you a wannabe, a do-gooder? Are you an asshat, which is, I sure hope there's no one listening to this show that's like that, or you're an operational excellence kind of company there, or a good co. There's all these different versions of it. But it pays. if you have great values, it pays. We systematically prove that over and over and over.
So one of the things that intrigued me about the book was the number of toolkit items you had in there.
Yeah.
There were self-assessments, there were checklists, there were things that you could actually utilize in a workshop. Why did you put those items in the book?
Well, first of all, I'm impressed you read it like that. That was good because, and sometimes you go in these interviews, they don't always know. Because I want people to know how to. It's one thing to be it. It's another thing, how do you get there? And even though I wrote the book and I'm trying to live like that, I'm still got room to improve, right? Every time I was reading the book, in fact, I remember back in November before it came out, I was doing the audio version of it, and I'm reading my own book on the audio going, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, right? So it's just a way for a CEO, a founder of a company, to be able to have a roadmap to help do it and teach other people. The Hero Club got started from a guy named Rob Ryan who sold his company for $20 billion, and he gave a portion of that to every single employee in the company, making the single largest number of millionaires in the world in one day. And, that was one of the values that he said was to share with others, to share with the people that got him where he, was. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing. And so my way is to say, okay, and like Rob, is how do I teach other people? How do I show other people it's okay, you can do this, and it's good for business to do this. And to make sure that you take care of your employees, take care of your customers, take care of your environment, take care of the Little League, take care of the symphony, take care of the arts, to do all the things in the community that good people should. Why? Because we can. Because we can.
You're aware of the statement on the purpose of a business corporation. You're probably not aware that in April of last year, the Department of Justice issued new guidelines around anti-corruption compliance programs. In that document, they specified that the single most important thing in a company was now, in their mind, culture.
Yeah.
And that's values.
Yeah.
And so now we have the regulators saying what you said.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you I'm going to use that going forward. I'm going to look that up, so thank you. That's the value of great podcasts like this, by the way, then I listen to podcasts. I'm a voracious podcast listener, and most people listen to more than one podcast. And I actually have two. I have All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett, and I also have The Hero Factor with Jeffrey Hayzlett. And I just think it's great to be able to get information like that. That's good.
You are a multimedia person.
Yep.
You podcast, you do television, you do interviews, but you also write. Why do you write in addition to your other media?
Writing's a way for me to kind of like it. I'm a former printer too. Now, yeah, so that's one thing. But, so I'm the bigger believer in print since Gutenberg, because I think, the most important documents in the world have always been in writing. Contracts now, too, the same way, right?
I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. So that you want to memorialize it, put it in a contract. And those are the things that I think are important. To me, writing is a way for me, it's very therapeutic in terms of being able to just write it down. And most of the time, I just can't read my own writing. But writing it and working with my writer, he was a ghostwriter for me, but I mostly talk, and then he writes, and then we work from there. I'm a little bit dyslexic, so it's tough for me some days. But nonetheless, I like writing because I think writing makes you think. I think it makes you think more, as opposed to just pontificating to talking. It makes you think, and when you see it in writing, it just does something. It's a little bit different. To say I love you to your wife, but to write it, it's a little bit different. To take the time to write it, to take the time to write a note, to take the time to write a person or a letter, even more than just an email. And wow, that's pretty cool.
When I read this book, I read it largely through the eyes of a compliance professional or a chief compliance officer, not as much as a business leader. So I wanted to ask, who's the audience for this book? Is it anyone up and down the chain?
It really is, but I'm really writing to mostly the founders of companies, the owners of companies, the CEOs of companies, and the board and leadership. To talk about diversity, to talk about inclusion, to talk about the best practices to lead a business based on values, and to have a winning culture, what I call a hero culture, which is that really value culture. There's a big difference, and we need to talk about it. For years, we've been talking about how to cut businesses. We've been talking about how to get to the bottom line and all these things, and we've lost our souls. We've lost our purpose, and I'm always drawn back to those companies that have that soul, have that purpose, that are that value based. They just do better. They're happier. It's like a feeling when you walk in the business. It's like, I'm in greatness. I'm in something that's different than anything else as a result of that, as opposed to going in, and all due respect, to Walmart or to GE or to companies, to me, that are cut and dried, cold. And there's nothing wrong with a bottom liner. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to be. But as I say in the book, just pick a side. Decide the kind of business that you want to be, and then pick it, and then drive to that finish line. And if you do that, that's okay. But I can tell you that if you're building a business based on values and you know, to have a hero culture, oh man, there's nothing like it. It's a whole different thing.
And the other thing that really struck me that we mentioned earlier, but it's the toolkits that's available, because I'm a big process guy, and you've laid out a process by which you can assess your values, you can then work to improve or manage your values, and then you can, on an ongoing basis, improve them going forward.
Yeah, and check back in, because by the way, your values change over time.
Right.
You know, we had certain. Like I used to be in politics when I was younger. I had certain kinds of views. When I'm older, I have different kinds of views. Right? You have children. You think, well, I'm never going to raise my kids like that, and then you turn around, you're repeating the same things your mom and dad said. So, you know, those are the things that we learn over time. So yeah, it's okay to check in, and you know, there was a great movie. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I did want to ask you about the Hero Club. Could you say a few words about that?
Yeah, the Hero Club is an organization, again, a value-based, invite-only organization. We encourage people to apply to say, hey, we'd love to have you in as part of this, to get together with other people. We vet every member that comes in just a very simple way, but we have a discussion with you ahead of time, and usually most people are recommended, or they raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in coming in. And then we get together on a regular basis. And what's really unique about the Hero Club is because of the values that everybody espouses, individually different, but they're making a statement. It's very interesting to watch people come into the room and they've taken the armor off. And it feels as though you know everybody in the room already. And so there's deep friendships immediately. There's deep kind of partnerships that occur. And just a no bullshit atmosphere, which is kind of nice.
Where can listeners go for more information on either the Hero Factor or the Hero Club?
Well, if you want to know, again, the assessment, theherofactorbook.com. You can certainly go to C-Suite Network, C-Suite Radio right here. This show is on. And then you can look up Hayzlett, HAYZLETT.com.
Jeffrey, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today.
Pleasure, and thank you for being a part of C-Suite Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox again. I'd like to thank you for listening. If you would leave a rating, we're going to have several links in the show notes of this podcast, so check out the link to Jeffrey's book, The Hero Factor. Also, check out the Hero Club. Also, C-Suite Radio, which I'm a proud member of, and this podcast is on as well. So hope you will check all of that out. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you'll join me again next week where I have another podcast. This is Tom Fox again. I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Jeffrey Hayzlett on his great book, The Hero Factor. It's an excellent book on leadership, and I would urge any CCO or compliance professional to read it. I hope you'll join me again next time where I visit with attorney John May. John's a criminal defense attorney, and he has written his first book, Who Says I Can't Do That?, and talks about criminal defense strategies in individual prosecutions, including FCPA cases. Of course, some great trial stories. I know you'll enjoy our next edition of the Sunday Book Review, and we look forward to visiting with you then.